Ladies and gentlemen, by way of introduction, this is a film about trickery and fraud, about lies. Tell it by the fireside or in a marketplace or in a movie. Almost any story is almost certainly some kind of lie.
Up to your old tricks, I see.
Why not? I'm a charlatan.
You don't talk about Napoleon or Julius Caesar. You're talking about Elmire.
Elmire?
Elmire?
Who is Elmire? That question has yet to be answered with any real precision.
In the early 70s, Orson Welles was preoccupied with shooting what would become his final feature, the posthumously released The Other Side of the Wind. During a break in filming, he made F for Fake. This was a fertile time for Welles. He was desperate to make something that would erase his reputation as the indulgent wunderkind who had made one great film and nothing else. In his own lifetime, unfortunately, he failed. But in retrospect, we can see that his late period was full of creativity and ambition.
Irving's book about Elmire is the story of a man of talent taking the mickey out of those who had rejected him, translating disappointments into a gigantic joke.
F for Fake is a joyous conundrum, a spiraling work that, within an efficient 90 minutes, transforms into exactly what it's about. A well-meaning hoax, one that inspires smiles instead of outrage, and entertains while raising thought-provoking ideas.
The girl watching was evidence of how much of all this was filmed in blissful ignorance of the facts about some of the various characters who found their way in front of our cameras.
Clifford Irving told the story in the book.
Maybe.
The film had its roots in a documentary about art forger Elmire de Ory, made by Francois Reichenbach, who ended up selling the footage to Welles, who in turn sprouted it into a larger exploration of forgery and hoaxes. As an actor himself, a stage magician, and a dramatist, Welles' entire career was about artifice and using media to deceive a willing audience.
What period is that, Matisse?
36. I feel that we should burn it.
When he looks at a painting of Matisse or Chagall and says, "That's mine, I did it," he is always right.
The value depends on opinion. Opinion depends on the experts. A faker like Elmire makes fools of the experts, so who's the expert? Who's the faker?
Acting as host on camera, Welles announces that he will present several notorious cases of fakery, and at some point, the film itself will perpetuate a hoax. He begins with his own War of the Worlds radio broadcast from 1938, one of the most infamous hoaxes of all time. The newscast format of which caused many listeners to believe that an invasion from Mars was underway. Next, the film reviews the case of Clifford Irving, the writer who had penned a biography of Elmire de Ory, and then gone on to create a best-selling, completely fabricated memoir by reclusive billionaire Howard Hughes. Hughes, meanwhile, a youthful mogul in the 1930s, had been one of the early inspirations for Citizen Kane.
And on the island of Ibiza, we'd fallen smack into the biggest series of scandals in the whole history of hoaxing. It was a pretty queer experience to start making yet another movie and end up making yet another with a storyline rotten with coincidence. For instance, that the author of Fake, a book about a faker, was himself a faker and the author of a fake to end all fakes, and that he must have been cooking it up when we were filming him.
The final segment concerns Pablo Picasso, whose work had been replicated by Elmire de Ory many times, and a fanciful affair between Picasso and Oya Koda, Welles' partner, mistress, and one of the stars of The Other Side of the Wind.
I went to the airport today, picked up a copy of the London Daily Express, and it was an article, "Exposed, a man who holds the art world to ransom." Sitting in the sunny studio
ça vient dans le
And then it goes on
Daily
to tell the
Express.
story of
It's
how I
about
took
the
the
museum.
Modigliani to the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
There's a big article. It's profound embarrassment to them all.
Van Dongen, Derain.
Throughout the film, Welles questions how authorship is determined by so-called experts and how important it really is to prove authenticity.
Was Mr. Hughes a vegetable? A spook? A gibbering lunatic? Was his hair down to his knees? Were his fingernails 9 inches long? Did Howard Hughes exist? Irving insisted that he did. Hughes denied the existence of Irving.
No, I never saw him. I never even heard of him.
Welles believed that a film could not sustain the illusion of life unless its surface was continually active, as evidenced by his frenetic editing style and the perpetual movement within his frames. This was always prominent in his films, but it achieved new intensity in his 70s work. The contrast of Welles' famous baritone voice and the relentless flicker of images creates a hypnotic effect. Behind his moviola, Welles combines unrelated pieces of film to create encounters that exist only in an imaginary sphere.
It's pretty.
But was it art?
Art, take 2.
And when an artist has no personal vision, what can he communicate onto the canvas?
Sans les devant, derrière, pas...
Ça brûle un peu.
Et voilà.
It's pretty. But is it rare? Lots of oysters, only a few pearls.
With F for Fake, Welles essentially invented the essay film, a hybrid documentary and assemblage piece, including scripted elements designed to explore a thesis both persuasively and artistically, yet with a playful stance, and infused with elements of personal history. There had never been anything like it. Critics and the handful of moviegoers who saw it didn't know what to make of it. They fussed over how to categorize it according to known genres instead of appreciating that Welles had done something unprecedented.
Was the existence of something new in the art world, and that was the art market. It enabled him to live from day to day, from painting to painting, from fake to fake, from con man to con man, from crook to crook, and from town to town.
Who knows? What is it? What makes you travel? You want to change the landscape? You want to meet new people? You want to meet new faces? You think you meet somebody more attractive in the next town as you met there? You never know. Why?
Undeterred, Welles was proud of the film and persisted in promoting different versions of it throughout the 70s, while simultaneously shooting and editing The Other Side of the Wind. And, as always, acting in movies and commercials to raise money to finance his final films, whose boldness and experimental quality would not be appreciated until long after he passed away in 1985.
And wish you all, true and false, a very pleasant good evening.